I've surfed in many places around the world, but Uluwatu is such an attraction for me. Life for me has been around surfing. I find it spiritual, a connection to nature. I enjoy the freedom, the solidarity that you get by taking your feet off the sand and jumping into the unknown. It's a huge power greater than me. And that's what I respect about it. Surfing, it's a part of where I grew up. I've been very fortunate enough to have surfed at a board riding club, North Narrabeen in Sydney, which has pioneers of surfing and of the surf industry. I've seen companies form like the Quiksilver and the Rip Curl and the Billabong of today are all established in Australia. And I'm very fortunate enough to know shake those people's hands who started those companies. And those companies now are owned by huge corporates like hedge funds and are managed. And what was attached with surfing in those days was getting high in marijuana and acid. And so society looked at that as the rebellious type sport. And so it was hard to gain funding for the professional surfers of those era. And then the youth and the drinking culture of Australia especially influenced surfing even more. I've seen inventions come into surfing, and I've seen world champions all from the same beaches where I learned to surf, but also having an ability, competent with equipment that's on offer. And you get to share those moments. It's like you and I do. That's where our connection has grown. I see you with a board and equipment, then I see you again with a different board and different equipment. Not quickly, but I see a commitment and a progression, an ability, because there's people that'll have all the gear and no idea, as the saying goes. But if you progress through, and you've done it quite naturally with research and your ability, the progression's been great. I'm sure it surprises yourself. Your commitment to sizable waves and to the environment that we've got on offer to us, it gives me a satisfaction that I can share that with someone else who appreciates where we are.
Well, it's probably the most dedicated thing I've been into in the last 10 years of my life.
To go into the ocean is one thing, but then to operate a piece of equipment in that ocean, that's another thing. And then what that ocean does on that particular day is another thing. When you have to have knowledge of all those things and bring it all together. I surf with a lot of different abilities and competencies, and it's dangerous. It's, you got
I lost the
toe.
How good is that stuff?
It's crazy though. Uluwatu is such an attraction for me. It has a certain magnetic pull as well, I think, with its volcanic activity on the island and where it sits to the equator. It's the southern hemisphere. It feels natural for me to be here because I'm from the southern hemisphere. I studied light, like I said, I was in the film industry. I like the height of the sun and the moon. I like it all. That's what I studied. Everything stays at not a constant, but it's consistent. I like to see the moon and the sun at the same angles. And it's happened in the last 4 or 5 years. A few times a year it happens. And that's just the cycles of this moon and the sun. And it's so cool to go for a surf in the morning and the moon's going down on the west horizon and the sun's up on the east. He's like,
aligned perfectly with the cosmos.
He's like, yeah. And where you sit in Ulu on the reef, it's pretty cool. You got volcanoes there and it's lit. Like the volcanoes are lit. They're illuminated by the sun and the moon. Yeah, it's a special place.
On set, and it's
like in the natural set. Yeah, and another thing that I really love about this place is the colours, the sunsets. A lot of warm colours blend the palettes and create something that happens naturally every day. Yeah, so surfing has got me to a point in life, and I made a personal decision about 5 years ago, that I hadn't done enough surfing in my life and I wanted to do more. And I wanted to surf every day for the rest of my life. And I was told that I couldn't do that. And so when someone's told that they can't do something, that sort of motivates me anyway, personally, that I'm going to pursue that goal. I've changed everything. I've changed the geographical, I've changed the physical, and I've changed the mental.
And relationships,
Yeah,
friendships.
yeah, everything. Not just a little bit of it. I changed everything, not dramatically, but I changed everything for the better. So the friendships that I've got through surfing and the support that I've got through developing the product, it's only very simple. It came from my career in the industry of film and rigging, and then seeing where the leash attaches to the surfboard is a piece of string tied by a knot. And through the knowledge I have with rigging and climbing, then you can sew a piece of textile together and make it stronger than a knot. Because a lot of people struggle with the knot, unless you've been taught knots, and fortunately I was. And the strength of string. And it's not an invention, it's an innovation, which isn't the most essential part, but it's something that's never been changed. It's been a piece of string for as long as the leash has been invented.
The strings break often.
Yeah, they do, because it's nylon and it wears on a piece of metal, and salt water and UV from the sun deteriorates the nylon and it'll eventually break. That was a motivation for me to find the strongest fibre, and it's been a journey, and I researched and reached out and I've partnered with the world's strongest fibre, being a product called Dyneema. It's patented. We have a licensed agreement that gives us the ability to put their patented logo on our label with our product's logo. WeConnection. We are the world's strongest connection, and it's through the leash and the surfboard and human connection. Where surfing is today is at about 37 million surfers worldwide. So the product has a scope to be able to reach, and we've attached a message of mental health to the product, being the world's strongest connection.
Connection to friendships, to nature, to source, to soul.
Yes, Don. A connection that is very close to my heart is my girlfriend, and we met here in Indonesia, and Joanna lived on Nusa Lembongan teaching yoga, coming from a corporate world in London, and lived on that little island and didn't wear shoes. And when I met her, I was like...
We're both shoeless on the beach.
We were. And when I met Joanna, she came to Bali, and then we started living together, and I went to Australia, and it was December in 2019, and I wore a pair of sandals, flip-flops and thongs, and they broke. So that was it. I haven't had a set since. There's good connection to the earth here. I find my feet are way better than wearing those rubber thongs, and that's just another little connection to the earth that is very important. Yeah. I still protect my head when I'm underwater and when I've come into the surface, still to this day, and something that was taught to me in the first days of learning to surf. And if you don't do it, it's evident. People lose eyes, people get cuts, and that becomes a danger. So you need to eliminate that to the best of your ability, and there is practices that can be done. Let's talk about the longevity and the sustainability of a surfer. And me personally, I was introduced to a new way of life, a spiritual way of life, prayer and meditation. And the prayer, it's to the universe, it's to the power of my own understanding. And that certainly is just surrendering. And you've mentioned the word surrender to the ocean, and that's a surrender. And the ability to be aware of that and then absolutely bring in the longevity of the body. And yin, like surfing is such a physical sport or practice that to balance that out, that's what the yin is. And Joanna and I have developed a 1 hour class that is specifically designed for surfers' bodies. It stretches the hamstrings, hips, lower back and shoulders. And it's, again, you have to apply yourself to the amount of time that you're in that position and stretching that part of your body, and commit the time that it takes. And there's the parasympathetic nervous system, the fascia of the muscles, all the bone and the tissue and everything that goes in the body. That's a whole other world. And the breathwork complements the meditation. The meditation assists with the stretching and the yin, because you're almost in a meditative state when stretching. And so that longevity of being able to surf is the contribution that those three things, breathwork, meditation, and yin yoga or stretching.
Just this sense of yin, I think, coming from the outsider who doesn't really know you and they just see you charging big waves, it might be surprising for them to be like, yeah, it just does yin some to balance. That need for the balance, yin and yang, is listening to the universe, because that's what the universe is always. I think mental health issues, in my experience, it's, you just want too much of the one thing of the yang, the fire, the high, and you just can't. You have to have the yin. You have to have the time where actually nothing's happening. Yeah. That's the hardest part.
You know, you achieve something, your ego is boosted. So you achieve more, and your ego, if you allow it, sits higher than a lot of people's, and that's where you can get into a little bit of trouble.
I thought of this one wavy on one of those big bombing sets. It was an air jaw. I was like, what the fuck? It's like a building. And then you relaxed, like floating, because you're literally like free falling, but you were to step back on the waves, on your big board, just like slow motion landed. If you tensed up, it would have been a whole other story.
And that's where that whole surrender comes into it. And it might look like you're the tough charger to be able to handle that type of wave, but you're surrendering really. And I found that out really early, sailing boats in big oceans. You're only a little speck in a big, powerful ocean. And you look at the competitive surfers now that are on the world tour, they're doing meditation, they're relaxed. And previously, in my personal experience, your ego can get inflated and you're pumped up, and you're a ball of energy that is wasting energy. And until you fully relax, you're not getting the best waves ever until you do that. And someone like Kelly Slater, when he joins the lineup or when he's in the ocean, waves just come to him. Like people that compete against him say, I was waiting for the waves too, but the waves came to him. That's just it. And that's the power greater than us that you come to respect, to have a knowledge of. And, you know, in life, you can get deep on this one. You know, the universe provides. My 18-year-old son, he surfs with an ability and a fluidity that is very rare. And he was a calm kid. Right, he's just his mind can shift if the grounding of a kid and just that natural calmness is there, and that's what the ocean gives him. Having that awareness, having that connection, there's that word again, and I love it. And the humility that you can achieve by the yin, the breath work, through the meditation and the surrender, that humility is life-changing. It certainly allows a more consistent way of life than surfing for 9 hours. But then a week later, I did it 9 hours on a Tuesday and 7.5 hours on a Wednesday. So I topped it. And my body was ready to go. I needed a rest, but my body wasn't. I was fatigued. I ate well and slept well and stretched and did my breath work and meditated. And my body was ready to go, but we've run out of swell. There you go. There's the universe just going, yeah, have a rest. Just connect with the ocean, connect with the beach, connect like this. I'm living proof of getting to a point in life where something had to change, and that was everything. And if the global situation gets to a point where something's really got to change, it's got to change. A lot of people still have the idea that there's a season here. We can edit this part out if you want, but the season for me goes from January to January. The location of surfing changes, but not a lot. It's just that the global surfers think that the surf season is from May to August, which it has been, because that's when the trade winds blow. But you go to the Mentawais in that season, in that period of time, and talk to the locals, and they're laughing their heads off because no one comes at the rest of the time of the year, and that's fantastic waves. It's still the same ocean that's hitting the islands. They just go on the other side of the island. I've said to you, like I surf more in the wet season at Pandawa, just this last wet season, than I do all dry season. It's like today, you know. I could go and surf Pandawa now. There's waves, but
I think I want to go for a surf today.
yeah, it picks up the most swell. It's exposed to the Indian Ocean. And that's just like the accessible spots. It's a good part of the world. It's the most consistent surf I know around the world, and the climate's amazing. You know,
What do you think about getting overcrowded? Because you've been surfing this 35 years or so.
yeah, but it's overcrowded. We're going to see the island impacted again from overcrowding, from tourism. We're going to see that impact, but hopefully there is environmental practices in place, which there are. 5 years ago, they weren't collecting rubbish. They were putting it on the side of the road and burning it, which they still do, but they're up to their second hill of waste management in Serangan. There's some recycling going on. Big companies make money from recycling.
I also think people are going to come if it's so dirty.
Yeah.
They're just...
Yeah, and those big hotels want to contribute to the environment. And so if they want to fill their rooms with people, then they've got to do something. The overcrowded, the surf's never going to be too overcrowded for me personally.
What?
The surf, it's never going to be too overcrowded.
For you?
Yeah.
Because you always find a way.
Yeah, but also you go and surf the Gold Coasts, you go and surf anywhere in Australia where the surfing population's bigger. People come here for holidays. They don't all just come here to surf. The surf is crowded, but it's nowhere near as crowded as the population of the Gold Coast is pretty climate comfortable, and the waves can be great for everyone, and you can get a lot of people sitting in the water.
So have you thought about living on another island?
Yeah, that crosses my mind a lot. I've
More nature, more empty waves, maybe more fish.
Yeah, it really does. And like we were just saying about that accessibility to internet into
the future.
the future, you can be anywhere.
Easy.
But I said it. My mum said that one of her family friends mentioned going on a cruise in New Guinea instead of her coming to Indonesia for 10 days. And been here for quite a long time, and have got good connection with people that have businesses in different parts of Indonesia. And New Guinea's got a little bit to offer. Indonesia's got 16,000 islands in its archipelago with... there's a lot to offer here.
I say this because I'm starting to feel like maybe I need to go somewhere else to find a place. As more people come, and I can feel the conditioning of their modern world attitudes. It feels like California and LA, Hollywood vibes. Yeah. Which I used to live there.
Yeah.
Part of me is okay with it. It's fine. It's amazing. You can get certain benefits of that. On the other hand, am I seeking a connection to something that I cannot get somewhere.
You walk outside and look out there, we're still okay.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I'm actually trying to make it more modern here because the weeds, when it gets wet, it gets really smelly.
Yeah.
It's not just, that's a whole nother side of things. It's like nature, so romantic, but nature will kill you, nature will bite you, sting you.
Yeah. Yeah, but the attraction to another part of Indonesia is certainly there. I've got a mate who's been here now for a period of time. He's got a place in Seminyak, he's got a place in Balian, and he's built in Rote. And he's just been in Bali for the last month, and he got his car and jumped on the ferry to Lombok, drove across Lombok, went to Sindawa, drove across Sindawa. He's on the ferry to Flores and then Sumba and then to Timor and then into Rote. There's a lot to see with surf.
Yeah, I think that's calling me actually. Figure out a mobile setup.
Yeah. Get a production van and just have studio in the side of the van.
Yeah. And then it could be fun.
Yeah.
My satellite.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just probably have to get rid of some surfboards.
I just did that.
These are all out because I'm going to sell. I'll put them out to sell.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can see that they're done up for sale. That's where the Facebook marketplace is fantastic, with people coming back, and there's also surf shops, Indonesian-run surf shops that will just buy them as one package and put them in their shop. And I had a guy buy a few boards and send them to Sumatra for the young kids that have started to surf. And
let's make surfing not just a sport, but a lifestyle that uplifts all beings, respects nature, and fosters lasting connections. The ocean is calling. Will you answer?